So, good day, guys. Today I would like to talk about Brigade. And in order to explain what Brigade is, it's easiest to show you guys with a simple script. So, for example, I'm now in my shell and I will enlarge in the font and I do the famous kubectl get pods command. Now, there is no pods deployed, get nodes -ow white. And then I'm only interested in grab node pool, and then I am only interested in the first column, for example this. So here you see a simple example of a shell script where I have the first command and there I have the second command and then the third command after that. So imagine if you could do the same thing in Kubernetes with the pipeline. So you would execute job A. Job A is dependent on job B, and job B is dependent on job C, etc., etc. Furthermore, a job can also exist of multiple tasks. So a job in this case in Kubernetes would be a Docker image, for example. So how does it work? When we go to the documentation of a Brigade, just go to Azure GitHub.io and you will see, for example, this picture. What you will see is that you can create your own gateway. And the gateway is always linked to a project. A project is basically within Kubernetes, it's a secret. And in this demo, I will show you how to create a project. In this project, you can define secrets, which you can use in your scripts. A trigger could be anything what you decided to be. In my demo, I will use a simple webhook, but you can also, for example, create your trigger, which is based on a queue listener. Then a project will be created, and a project it's basically a build, and the build is also generating a secret. And then the controller will pick the job up, and the job is configured what's configured in the project metadata. Then a worker will be picking this work up, and this worker could, for example, be that you use one or multiple Docker images in a certain order. These workers consist of jobs, and within these jobs you have certain tasks. So when we go to the example, in this example, we will use later on the Brigade project Docker. And here you see that the actual code is in my GitHub, and the code consists of this. So as you can see, the Brigade framework is using JavaScript, and here you see that it has dependencies, and here you see that it's listening on an event name called scale. The Brigade event, it's the first secret, it's basically the build secret, and the project is basically the project secret where you can store your metadata. From within these projects you can access values which are defined in the secret. So here just you see a definition of a job. I'm naming this job this, and this job is based on this Docker image which resides on my Docker hub. And this can also be, of course, something that is configured in my private registry as well. And here you see that I'm logging in with the service principal, and of course the service principal is stored in a secret as well. And then this job is run. This is the scale job. Here you see an example of piping. Here first I'm defining my first list job, then I'm defining my second deploy job, and this listener is triggered by the deploy event. Later on you will see how this is tied all together within the gateway. And here I'm doing the pipelining. Here I say first I like to run the list job. After this is finished, I can do the deploy job. And after this all is done, you will see in the console this message. So let's get to it. Let's have a look at how it all works, because this is all nice in theory, but I bet you like to see it in reality. So let's go to the Docker exam. So let's go back here to the repository. And here you see that I've documented quite a lot. This is the flow, what's all happening on the water. And this is the installation instructions. So I already did the Helm init. I added the Brigade repository on my current AKS deployment. Now I'm going to install and test the Brigade Hello World project. I see that I missed something. That I was missing a line. I added the installation line. So with this command I'm installing Brigade. So I'm cloned my repository. I'm installing the Brigade with the Helm command. And if I do now k get pods, basically k is alias for kubectl on my machine, so don't worry about it that it's something new. That's just I did something on my machine. So here you see that there are three deployments. So you got the API, you got the control, and you got the GitHub gateway. This is a default gateway you get when you just deploy Brigade. If you like, for example, to create a pipeline based on a GitHub push, and you like to create a webhook on that, and you like to execute some tasks, for example test tasks on your Kubernetes controller, that's possible with this webhook. In this demo we will use our own gateway. So now I'm going to deploy my Hello World project. So I'm going to Brigade project Hello World. And here you see I have a file called myvalues.yaml and a hello world.js. So I've installed the CLI, the Brig CLI, and with Brig CLI I can do, for example, Brig project list. And you see that I have no projects currently at the moment installed in my Kubernetes environment. So if I want to install this Hello World project, I do a helm install. I give the project a name, a Brig project, and then Hello World. Then I give the archetype of the Helm chart, Brigade project, and then I give the my values as a parameter. So what's important is that here in the my values you see a reference to the repository I'm using. So if I would execute this project, it will get the Brigade .js. The code is actually based on this. But with the Brig CLI, I can also execute my own code. And my own code in this test case is the hello world.js. And I need to run it in a runtime environment. In the runtime environment, it's the Brigade project. So here I do a Brig project list. And what I want to do now is run this thing. And so you can see an example of a Brigade project running. So I do Brig run -f. And I'm giving this hello world.js. Then I'm giving the name of the project. So you see that an event has been created and a pod is waiting for a worker. You see that it has been created. You see that the hello world is executed, and basically that's what it says in this simple hello world.js. It just says console log hello world.js. We go look at the pods. We see that there is a pod and it's completed, and this is the log of the pod. So if I do a k logs logs k logs Brigade pods, you see the same result. Now go to the secrets. You see the following things. You see that there is a project. and you see that there is a brigade.sh build. So if we look at the project, okay, get projects. Oh, sorry, get secrets. Minus O YAML. You see that it contains the secrets for this project. Okay, so that was an example of a Brigade project. If you want to see what the default script is for this project, you can do, this is all base 64 encoded, you can just do an echo base 64 minus decrypt, and you see that the default run code for this project would be also a simple hello default script, but we're not running this one. So if we want to make this visual, we have a project, also another open source project called Kashti. And when I go to Kashti, I need to configure something first. First, I need to know which services there are. And I see that the API has the service with this IP address, cluster IP address. So what I need to do when I'm installing kashti is I'm going to chart kashti values, and in the API server, I'm changing the IP address to the cluster address of this thing. Then I can just do install -n. Oh, sorry, helm install kashti is the name. Get pods. So it's deploying. So it's running. Now if I do a brick proxy, proxy, and I go to localhost 8081, you see that I have one Brigade project currently at the moment, and this Brigade project has run with an event which is triggered by the Brigade CLI, and furthermore there's no detail. So let's start installing the ACI connector. So for you, if you don't know what the ACI connector is, basically the ACI connector, it's a plugin that has been created if you like to extend your Kubernetes or AKS cluster with Azure Container Instances. And Azure Container Instances are basically nodes which are basically already running, and you can just extend your cluster with these running nodes. So if it's much quicker than spinning up a whole new machine. So if you want to do that, you need also a project that is ready for using the Azure Container Instances. And in this project, I have a project called BusyBox. And in the BusyBox deployment descriptor, you see there is something called tolerations. And the key for this is the azure.com/ACI key. So let's go back to installing the connector. You install the connector with this command. It's also in the documented in the repository. Install connector -g. So let's see, AKS list -o table. So the name of this is AKS Brigade demo. So I just do aci-AKS install connector, install connectors -g -n -n, and then I give it the name, connector name, and let's just call it my ACI connector. Let's see if this works. So you see underwater it's using Helm. Get pods. It's deploying. It's running. So if we want to test if this works, let's see if we have currently containers running. AZ container list minus out table. We see that currently there are no containers running. Let's go to the BusyBox app and create the deployment. kubectl create -f BusyBox. We go to the pods. It's pending. Pending. If correctly, you would see that this is creating a container instance. So this pod will be running on a new node. Let's see if this is true. AZ container list minus out table. And you see that here there's a new BusyBox instance being spun up. And if we do get pods, you see that it's already running as well. So the cool thing for this now, if I like to extend or run it like 5 times on 5 new nodes, I can just say q or k kubectl scale deploy BusyBox replicas is 5, and you will see that 5 pods are being spun up, and those pods are actually run on new nodes. AZ container list minus out table. You see, they are being spun up as well. So cool stuff. Let's just delete the deployment now. Helm delete BusyBox. Okay, get deploy. It's not a Helm installation. Okay, delete deploy BusyBox. Okay, get pods. So you see that all the pods are being terminated. Table. So all the container instances are gone as well. So now let's go install our own gateway. So if you remember the documentation, you could have seen in Brigade that you can have your own REST service. So instead of using the Brig CLI and call this Brigade script, you can also call a predefined project. Let's go to the Brigade gateway, and this is a project that uses draft. So if correctly, the only thing what you need to do is draft up. If you're really interested what's going on inside, have a look at the draft.toml file, and in the chart file you will see that it's basically compiling the Docker image, pushing it to the predefined container registry, and actually deploying it on Kubernetes. So let's wait a little bit. It's installed now. Let's see what we have produced. So here you see that I have my gateway chart, and it's creating pods. Yep, and it's running. So that's a good thing. If we just have a quick peek in the code, if we go to the index.js, you see it's a simple JavaScript, and here we have one hook which is listening to v1. Oh, let me enlarge this for you. A webhook, and here you see that I'm using a variable project, and it's a size. So this is the hook for the scaling hook, and let's see, this is the hook for deploying the deployment. And what's important to know is that we are creating a Brig event, and the code for Brig event is in the same folder. And if you look at create, you will see that it reads the project secret. So this is from this library, client code, from Kubernetes. It reads that secret, and then it uses this metadata to create the secret for the build. And then you will see also here that it will use the source code because I have not defined anything in script. It will use the source code which is defined in the Git repository. And in the Git repository it will download the source code from the Git repository with the Brigade.js. So yeah, let's see, Brig project list. We got just one project, that's the hello world. So now we're going to deploy the project for, let me see, for the Docker deployment, project Docker. So what do we have here? You need to edit the values here, and here you need to have your username, because this is when you're communicating with your AKS cluster, you need to have these values for the service principal. So you need your service principal ID, you need the tenant, and you need the password. So in the scripts folder in this project, you will see how you can create your own service principal, and basically it will be the service principal you have used for the installation of your AKS cluster. So I've already created this file, or edited these values and put it in my values.yaml. I will create the project by doing helm install n brig project docker demo, and this is of type brigade project, and then I'm using the my values.yaml file. Brig project list. Let's see what we have here. So we see now we have 2 Brig projects, and you see that they have their own ID. When we are looking in the Kubernetes secrets, we see that we got here also 2 secrets for projects, and there's only one build triggered yet at the moment by Brigade. So what we want to do now is trigger it by calling the gateway, and we can do this with this command. So let's go here. First, what we need to do is get the Brigade gateway, which we just deployed. So Brigade gateway, we need to proxy it. So you can do it with draft connect, and with draft connect you see it will proxy this service to localhost on this port number, and we can just call it this localhost. The dynamic port for this is, let's see, 55015. Of course you can expose it as a different or a steady IP address as well. And then you need the ID of your project, and in this case let's open another one, Brig project list. Then I'm going to call this one, and I'm going to call this project. So you see it's accepted. Let's see what happens. You see that there is another Brigade project is initializing, logs. You see that it's handling the deployment job. It's creating. So let's go back to the source code. GitHub Brigade KS Docker example. So here you see the source code. I've called the job deploy, and here you see that we've defined two jobs, one list job and one deploy job. First the list job is being run and then the deployment job, and then it will end with finish deployment job. So here we have did a tail on the pod for, yeah, as you see it's completed. Here you will see that there's a new job created, and the job is called list pods, so it's corresponding of course with this name, CMM demo list pods, and here you see the other one with deploy jobs. So if we're going to have a look here, k loss minus f, you see here that's the output of this pod. So let's have a look in kashti how it looks like. Brick proxy. We still have it running here. So here we see now that we have two projects. This was the first one, the Hello World, and here we got the Brick Docker example. So here you see that it's been triggered with the Brigade, and then you see that it has two jobs. It has the deployment job, and this is basically the output of the deployment job, and the second job that was executed within this event is basically the list pods, or this was the first pod. And here you see the result of the first pod. So the last part of the demo is actually scaling this deployment with also another call. So let's kill this one, the kashti. And then we're going to do the same call again. So we still have the gateway running on the same port. Sorry. Curl, yeah. Instead of deploy, we are going to do the scale job. And then we give a parameter that we would like to have 5 instances. Okay, get pods. So you see here, there's another project is being scheduled. Okay, get pods. This one is completed. You see that the busy box was already running. You see that now it's being scaled. You see container list minus o table. You see that now the pods are coming up. That's cool stuff, and they have been deployed. So okay, get pods. And of course, in a production environment, and you have something smart, you can have your own large jobs configured here, batch jobs even. So let's have a look in kashti to see what happens basically. I've killed the proxy. I need to put it back up again. Of course, you can expose this as a service as well, and then you don't need to proxy this. So let's go to the second project. This was the first one, sorry. This was the second one. Deploy job, list pods. A minute ago. And this is the scale deployment. And here you see that we're just scaling it. That's it. So this is the end of the demo. Hope you guys like it and it's more clear to you what Brigade is and how powerful it is. So if you have any questions, please drop me a mail, or if you would like to have another demo, please let me know, and I would be more than happy to help you and assist you in this matter. Have a good evening, and hope to see you in the next movie.